just walked in.
Right, like I just.
Don't kid yourself. He hasn't been here.
All ready, guys?
Yep.
This part where I hit the gavel. I'd like to call this meeting into session. Yes, that's what we want to do. And I'll have roll call, Ms. Frazier.
Mrs. Baker is absent. Mr. Davidson,
Present?
Mr. Isgro,
Here.
Mrs. Matthews,
Here.
Mr. Sprague.
Here.
We can all stand for the pledge, please. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I'd like to make a motion to approve the minutes.
So moved. Second?
Thank you. Ms. Frazier, you can call roll.
Mr. Davidson,
Yes.
Mr. Isgro,
Yes.
Mrs. Matthews.
Yes.
Mr. Sprague.
Yes.
Thank you, sir. Well, again, good afternoon, everyone. Thank you guys for being here. Let's see, we have a great work session. Do I need to call roll for work session? No, okay, making sure, okay. So, yeah, so we're gonna go to our work session. We have a presentation now, I mean, this is always a great part of the board meetings when we have the schools come in and talk about what is going on and all the amazing things that are happening in their building. So we have Crawford Wood Elementary with us tonight. Thank you so much for being here with us. You guys can take the podium.
All right.
We have Mr. Hopkins, and then we also have Assistant Principal Ms. Ernst here with us. So thank you guys so much for taking time to be here this afternoon and be able to share about what is going on in your amazing building and over there at Crawford Wood Elementary.
Yep.
The floor is all yours.
Thank you. So we did, Mrs. Ernst is going to do our slideshow. So as I speak, we will run through the slides. And I just want to say good afternoon to our esteemed board members and to our Hamilton City School admin. Thanks for having me this afternoon. Usually I take this opportunity to highlight a lot of our community events and actions, but today I want to highlight our instructional pushes this school year and provide a little more of a data-driven presentation that is a bit more on the technical side than I usually deliver. When we think about teaching and learning and how to take a systematic approach to supporting students, we organize them into tiers. 80 to 85% of students should fall into tier 1, which would be represented in the green up there. 10% should be falling into tier 2, which is represented by the yellow, and 5% falling into tier 3, which would be the red. When we look at our cone at Crawford Woods, we see that it is flipped upside down. Less than 50% of our students are scoring proficient or higher. When we see a cone flipped upside down, it means there is a tier 1 issue. So the question becomes, how do we implement stronger tier 1 strategies, and how do we provide more tier 1 support? The first thing we did was to look at the barriers that lied in the way of our tier 1 instruction. So the first thing we looked at was our discipline data and how to cut down on the number of behavior referrals and kids in the office due to discipline issues. We know when kids are in the office, they're not learning in the classroom. What we discovered was encouraging and eye-opening. If we consider 1 to 2 behavioral referrals a year, tier 1 criteria, we discovered that 85% of our students fall into tier 1, which is a normal cone. Teachers agree and continue to agree that tier 1 is their responsibility, and they are now handling the tier 1 behaviors. This has allowed Mrs. Ernst and I to focus our attention on our tier 3 students, which is actually at 10%, not 5%. And as you can see, the number of office referrals is down quite a bit from last school year. This will hopefully allow Mrs. Ernst and myself to be in the classrooms more often to support our tier 1 instruction. Also, when we completed this slideshow, we had completed it a few weeks ago, and we just ran our report numbers today to see where we were at for quarter 1 and quarter 2, or quarter 1 this year and quarter 1 last year. And we noticed that we had 146 referrals at the end of last year's first quarter, and we are down to 66 referrals now. So this is a decrease of 80 behavioral referrals, or 55%. And our building goal is 50% reduction in referrals this year, so we're on track to do that after Q1. Also, in an effort to support teachers with Tier 1 instruction and planning, we set up collaborative plan bells with the majority of our grade levels. These planning meetings for reading and math occur once a week, where classroom teachers have the support of the instructional coaches. Administration also attends these meetings when we're available to do so. This way, we can help teachers plan Tier 1 instruction and keep up with what curriculum is being implemented, along with where teachers are at with their pacing. Here is our reading map proficiency data. You can see that from fall to spring, we do grow students and raise achievement levels. We improve our top 3 quintiles, which are proficient, accelerated, and advanced, but we fall backwards in the fall, almost back to where we started. This suggests a need for a stronger Tier 1. In response to that need, we have elected to make the adoption of the EL curriculum a hard start this year instead of a soft rollout for grades 3 through 6. This will hopefully strengthen our Tier 1 reading instruction and align us to the science of reading. We also are in year 2 of implementing a Tier 1 phonics program for grades K to 3. I'm also excited to tell you about our defined MTSS structure in reading. Using our MAP data and Amplify data, we have identified students needing reading intervention in letter naming, phonemic awareness, phonics, and fluency. Each student identified needing intervention in grades K to 4 were placed on a reading improvement plan and an intervention plan. Students were placed into groups and goals were created. Students will receive 6 weeks of targeted intervention. Students will be progress monitored every 2 weeks. As students achieve goals, they will change groups and eventually exit intervention altogether. This will hopefully close foundational reading gaps, giving those students more access to Tier 1 curriculum. We will hopefully see a shift in the bottom 2 quintiles with this approach. Also, with this approach, it keeps a placeholder for Tier 3 intervention, which allows the teacher to focus on Tier 1 intervention in small group. So that's our reading data, and we'll switch over to math. And what you'll see here is our fall map data. In math, you can see that we do see some movement in that bottom quintile. You can also see a slight climb in the top 3 quintiles. More kids are moving to the proficient side of the curve and staying there. This shift, we feel, can be attributed to a strong Tier 1 curriculum being implemented for the past 3 years, which we're officially in year 2. If the focus is on Tier 1 intervention, those interventions can be carried out in the classroom. The same can be said about our projected proficiency according to MAP. You see from fall to spring, the teachers at Crawford Woods grow kids and raise their achievement. You can also see that students maintain that same trend over the summer. This suggests we are starting higher in math this year than we did last year, which is what we want to see. We are working to correct our cone in math. We have been implementing Engage New York for the past 2 school years. This is a way for us to strengthen our Tier 1 in math. Now the goal is to monitor that we teach Engage with fidelity and refine the implementation of the curriculum. Now, all of this data was achievement data. And on the state report card, we got 2 stars in achievement. We did, however, improve our progress score on the state report card from 2 stars to 3. This means we did a better job growing kids this year than we did last year. In this chart, you can see in reading and math, we grew kids at each grade level except 4th grade and 5th grade science. You can see we had exceptional growth in 5th grade math. To help better support those teachers, we have been intentional with setting up modeled and supported lessons with the instructional coaches along with planning support. We also moved our most talented science teacher to 5th grade. Our MAP data matches our OST results. You can see in the MAP data that the trend is the same. As you look at these scores, you have to remember that this year's 6th graders are last year's 5th graders. 5th grade demonstrated the most growth in both reading and math. This is our MAP growth data for math. And you can see that sixth graders, last year's fifth graders, grew the most, which is where that dark blue showed up on the previous slide. This is exciting for this school year's data, and hopefully that growth starts to translate into better achievement. Over the summer, we had a summer retreat for 2 days at the Colligan Lodge. Mrs. Ernst, myself, our instructional coaches, and 10 teachers joined together to look at our Tier 1 strategies and approaches. The goal was to define how we do things at Crawford Woods. We worked under the premise that in order to grow kids, teachers needed to have an effective environment and effective instruction. The goal of this team was to define components that lead to an effective classroom and to an effective instruction. And that if teachers were able to implement these structures, kids will grow. It defines what Tier 1 looks like at Crawford Woods. The document we created has become known as the Wildcat Way because it is the way we do things at Crawford Woods. So this is the effective classroom that we were talking about. We know that if we build structures around the components laid out on the Wildcat Way, we will have an effective environment for students and teachers to work in. We know classroom management has to be sound in order for sound instruction to occur. Since our Tier 3 students outnumber our Tier 2 students, the teachers at Crawford Woods do a great job building relationships and implementing high-structure routines within their classroom to support the neediest students. At Crawford Woods, we also know that if we build our instruction around these components, we will have solid instruction. So this is the instructional side of the Wildcat Way. This document outlines the way we do things at Crawford Woods. You will find this document on teacher notebooks in classrooms, and Sue and I use it to provide written feedback to teachers when we visit classrooms. The staff at Crawford Woods grows students. It is evident in our fall to spring data in both reading and math. It is evident on our state report card. In 2015, 2016, we had all Fs on the state report card. We were able to start to move the needle and have an impact on our state report card. We improved from all Fs. So can you hit the slide? We improved from all Fs to a D in 17-18 and a C in 18-19. We had Bs in progress and gap closing. This was the highest our report card has ever been. Then COVID happened. We know we were all impacted by the COVID learning loss, but we have pushed our report card up to a 3-star rating overall. We have raised our achievement level each year since COVID by focusing on growth for all students. I promise you 3 stars is not the goal at Crawford Woods. We believe we can push even higher than that. This is where we are, not where we are finishing. We feel with a strong focus and foundation of support for Tier 1 instruction, complemented by a strong intervention model, we can grow even more kids and push our achievement even higher. You want to hit the slide one more time? And here are some pictures of the people that make all this growth and achievement possible. We believe the teachers are the most influential people in the classrooms, and they really do need support from all of us. They make miracles happen each and every day, and Crawford Woods is the place it is because of the teachers that work there. Thank you for listening to me this afternoon and for your support throughout the year.
If I might, Aaron, great job on the 3 stars.
Thanks.
I know that's where you bring your kids from and how you've moved them forward is incredible. I also want to applaud you on going from 146 referrals to 66. That's incredible.
Yes, we're very pleased.
That I was going to say, very pleased. Keeps you out of the office a little bit more. Keeps you out of the office too. The goal being to get out of the office into the classrooms in which you're doing. I really like, and almost your school is I don't want to say it's different, but it's not the same either. But your teachers came together to create the Wildcat Way that fits your building, and that's having an effect on it. And that's what everybody has to do. It's what you do at Crawford is not going to be what they can do at Lindenwold, what they can do at Ridgeway. You have to do what you need to for your kids and your neighborhood, your families, and your teachers. And I applaud you for that, and obviously it's working, and I'm sure you'll come back and tweak that year after year for the Wildcat Way. But I just say congratulations and great job on what you're doing here.
Thank you, Mr.
I
Sprague.
agree with what Lauren had to say. I'm impressed with the growth in, you're at 3 stars. You have a very difficult building with the demographics that you serve. And I'm impressed with it. You went and looked for what the problem was, found it, found a solution, and you're working on it. And you're doing a great job down there.
Thank you.
Appreciate you.
Aaron, if I may, for the past 10 years, I think we're veterans in this now.
I think so at this
In the
point.
past 10 years, I've got to watch you grow and become a strong leader. You are doing an excellent job, as Mr. Davidson said, with the demographics that you have. In fact, I thought to myself, children coming behind in reading after the summer, probably because they're not getting to read at home or doing it at home. And then you work hard, you, your staff, everybody, to get those children up there and to make them, it's more than just 3 stars. You're developing the future of the city of Hamilton through our schools. So I applaud you greatly and your staff.
Thank you.
Same, I agree with everything that's been said. And again, thank you to your staff and to you and your team for being willing to take the time in the summer to spend that time in that retreat, to put the hours in to be able to identify specifically that that fits your building, as well as the fact that you're lessening the discipline as far as that the kids, because I feel like when they're disciplined, that's less time that they're in the classroom as well. So therefore, that they're in the classroom, they're learning as well. So it benefits everyone. They get to stay in the class and you get to get in the class. So it's a win-win, and that's a beautiful thing. And I love my Wildcats. They're amazing. So
Love having
it's
you there.
always great being over here, and I appreciate the thank you notes. Is definitely super special. But you guys are doing some great things at your building, and also that no one likes being down and with low ratings. But it's the fact that you recognize it, you see it, you're growing it, you're putting realistic plans together to be able to have measurables to see your growth and your gain. So that's amazing. And so again, as Lauren said, applaud you for the 3 stars. So that's something to definitely be proud of. So
Thank
we're
you.
definitely excited about it.
Over the past 2.5 weeks, I've had the opportunity to meet individually with every single principal as we went over their state data and talked about various things. And Aaron and I had a very lively conversation during that time. And he knows I'm going to continue to challenge him on doing better. And he's stepped up and is doing some things differently this year. And Mr. Sprague, you mentioned something about getting out of your office. He's working for the most part of the day out in a pod in his building as opposed to in his office for a visibility standpoint and for some other things, looking to continue to push the envelope to do better. We also know that there's significant language and cultural barriers with some of the students that are in that building, and recognizing that, not complaining about it, but recognizing what service do those students need in order to be successful and, most importantly, to grow. And Aaron and Sue, I know you both have completely embraced that growth piece and are looking for students to grow every day. And we're very fortunate to have both of you down there doing those things. And Crawford is growing. We are growing students every single day, and I know we'll continue to do that. And I'll continue to push a little bit. And you'll continue to push back, but I think that healthy give and take is what pushes people to be successful. So I just want to say to the board, to everybody watching, thank you for all the work that you're doing down there. Let's continue to work together moving forward. And I'm certain next year when you stand up here, we're going to see some additional successes. Thank you both.
Thank you, Mr. Holbrook.
Now, Katie, you've had 2 real good mentors, and you got another one with Mr. Marjoram, so, you can't fail.
Mrs. Barth now.
No, I'm sorry, Mrs. Barth. Well, you know, it's been a while, but, you know, there's no doubt you'll do just fine.
Absolutely. And then we have, what, another presentation about
We do.
the solar eclipse and,
That one's gonna be me.
oh, okay. Floor is all yours.
Thanks, Aaron. Take care.
You guys have a good evening.
This has been a big topic of conversation at not only our superintendent's council, but the entire state of Ohio. There's 179 days between now and
Your mic.
this has been a big topic of conversation at not only our superintendent's council in Butler County, but they brought in some regional individuals to talk to us a little bit in the fact that Ohio will be one of the states that will have a total solar eclipse on April 8th, 2024. And what's significant about that? The last time that that happened, 1806. So it's been, you know, quite a time.
You remember that?
I remember that.
Some of you that are here may remember that.
I drove my
I don't know
horse
if I
down.
remember it or not.
Yeah,
And
I rode my horse to school that day.
And so, one of the things that a lot of districts are debating is how to handle this. And, you know, my first initial reaction was, it's not gonna be that big of a deal. It's at 3 o'clock to 3:15 is when the apex of this is, but it will actually start getting dark or darker at around 1 o'clock in the afternoon and last until 6 or 7 o'clock at night. What I think's interesting is this map here. There is a center line of total eclipse, and you can see that goes through Darke County. I don't know if you know where Greenville is, but that pathway will have a total solar eclipse at around 3 o'clock on April 8th. Take about 10 minutes to cross through Ohio, but areas even to the north and south of that, and we are on the south end of that, we will have a partial solar eclipse at that time that we will see in most parts of Butler County. There may be a small southeast portion of Butler County that gets less of that, but where we are, that's going to happen. You can see we've broken down the data where it's going to be about 32 million people impacted by this, and the path of it's around 124 miles. There's also a partial eclipse, actually, just for information, it's going to take place Saturday. It won't impact us, but there's some states out in southwestern United States that it will impact. Obviously, there's going to be a number of counties that this is going to go through. And here is what has been recommended as far as information given to us, is that they believe there's going to be, you know, thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of people flocking to Ohio that day to get a view of this. Now, where that is going to be, I think more will be in the center part of the state where there's the total eclipse. And a lot of areas are looking at having events at fairgrounds, parks, different places like that. What communities need to plan for? A population surge, traffic management, local infrastructure stresses, and I have in your packets a couple of different items that you can reference at a later date, but the very last thing in the packet is a complete comprehensive plan that was done, and that actual plan was started in 2021. And it's the very last item in your packet. And that was distributed to us. I can't take any credit for participating in that in any way whatsoever. But it kind of outlines some of the concerns with health, safety, and welfare. And so one of the things that we spoke about at our superintendent's meeting in Butler County was, how is each school going to handle this? Well, the first thing that I do believe that we are going to push hard to do is that I don't want kids to look up at that and get injured, so we are going to buy solar glasses for every kid. And the discussion has come about, are you having school that day? It would be our first day back from spring break. So we have an option. We can go ahead and have school that day and possibly have some problems with traffic. I don't know. I mean, I don't have a crystal ball to know that. Or we can extend the break for one day on that Monday and start school on Tuesday. I can tell you that, speaking with a few other districts, and we try to stay in line, that has been the consensus with many of the districts, is to go ahead and extend spring break. It'd be extending it one day.
Would you still pass out the glasses? If
We would still pass out the glasses
good.
prior to spring break, and that
Perfect.
way the kids would have them. It would be the plan. Either way, we're gonna give them that, because I think it's an educational event that could happen. And, you know, having the kids at school, I think, would be a prime opportunity for the educational piece, but some of the infrastructure pieces, I mean, they've even warned that you may have individuals that call off work that day, and, you know, if we have problems with bus drivers and food service personnel, and that could be a little bit of an
Well,
issue as well.
at the same time, the eclipse will occur later, almost while we're dismissing kids.
It will for the high school, and we'll be close to dismissing, the apex of
And
it
it
will
goes,
be.
and it stretches for a while, yeah.
So, you know, we really don't need any board action on this, but I wanted to give you this information and trying to plan 6, 7 months ahead. I don't want this to be a last-second thing, because, you know, I would use it a little bit more as a type of a calamity day is what we would use it at, in which, you know, we would still hand out the glasses, and we would try to give some education to the kids and the parents ahead of time so that they know that this is coming that day, is what I would recommend that we
Mike, I
do on that.
experienced that, and when I went to Tennessee on the last one in, what, 17 was that?
I think it was, yes.
And traffic was a mess. Huh? 1817, I went to that one. Steve? We're on TV. Anyway, traffic was incredibly difficult to get around. I mean, because it just packed it overwhelmed the cities down there. And it took a couple of days for traffic to sort itself out, especially on the interstates, so.
Given
But I
given
think
the
it's great,
pathway and the
yeah.
line of this, there's been a lot more work done on this with those districts in central Ohio. And we've kind of piggybacked off a lot of the work that they've done, which, you know, I think's gonna have but there's a lot of good information in the packet that I gave you. But I think looking at this from a large picture standpoint, I don't think one day is gonna kill us.
No.
And I do think giving the information out, as well as the glasses, which we're ahead of the curve. We've already ordered those, and I can tell you right now, those are gonna be harder and harder to get, but we've got that in process, so we're gonna have ours for our students in plenty of time. And so that would be something that we will communicate out to our staff and our parents, you know, pretty soon, because we want them to be prepared. We put calendars out for a reason, but that's gonna be a day which we're gonna flip a little bit on.
Mr. Holbrook,
Yes, sir.
I think your idea of extending the break is fairly accurate, simply because all these things you're reading here, and you don't know what kind of traffic or anything that could happen to maybe, you know, upset children. And so I don't think it's a bad idea to give them that extra day there.
It's almost similar, it's very similar to calling a calamity day for snow or something. I mean, you take the information that you have and you make the best decision you have at the time that, you know, you have the information. I mean, there's times when we've called snow days and it barely snowed, but we took the information we had at the time and we made the decision. I'm always gonna err a little bit on safety
It's a good idea.
of kids and adults as well, and making sure that we take it out of that lens. It's a great educational opportunity, though. It really is.
So basically what you're saying is that as my first time as being able to be act as fill a role as president for the day, I get to say that I'm extending spring break for one more day.
You're gonna have a lot, you're gonna have some popularity with that.
First strawberry milk and now extending that. I tell you
The
what.
reality of it's gonna be the children are gonna be so students gonna be so excited about it, focused on that during the day anyways.
Exactly.
I could see third and fourth graders running to the windows to look to see if it's coming.
Is
They
it
will.
happening yet? Is
Yeah.
it happening yet?
Yeah.
And I think it actually falls in a very convenient piece in the fact that, you know, we're on spring break that week prior. Instead of coming back on that Monday, we come back on a
Good
Tuesday.
idea.
So,
Great idea.
the last thing on the agenda, we want to give you an update. We had some materials that we spoke to you about regarding possibly selling that we aren't using anymore. It was the balanced literacy materials. And Andrea, I'll let you go ahead and speak to that.
Yeah, so if you remember, we talked about reaching out to local districts to see if anyone else was interested in those first. No other district, they're kind of in our same boat, likes those, so we are currently posting those on public auction site, kind of at best offer right now. We're working with legal on what the appropriate path is to do that. But we are hoping within the next month or two to part with those items. If we cannot find a buyer, then I'll come back to you kind of with next steps, but that is the goal. Other states still can see some benefit in those materials, so we are trying to capture every dollar back that we can. It's just trying to find the right buyer right now.
Thank you so much for the update. I appreciate it.
I would move that we go into executive session.
Thank you. Roll call? Yeah?
Mr. Davidson?
Yes.
Mr. Isgro?
Yes.
Mrs. Matthews?
Yes.
Mr. Sprague?
Yes.